Right, today I'm going to talk to you about two ladies who committed murders in Russia. Separate times, separate ladies, they didn't know each other, but they both involve alcohol. Now, ladies watching, I'm not trying to put you on blast, and if you're Russian, I'm not trying to put you on blast too. I'm just trying to tell you guys a story of two fucked up women. We start with Irina Gaidamachuk, who between 2002 and 2010 killed 17 victims. The victims were between 61 and 89. Mother of two, Irina, she was dubbed Satan in a skirt. She posed as a social worker, which gave her access to the apartments of the victims. After she secured their trust, the 41-year-old Irina smashed their skulls with an axe. Classy lady, I guess. Then she robbed her victims for whatever small amount of cash or rubles they had in their pockets. Now, when the police gave their reports on this murder, they claimed the max she would have stole was around £1,000. Some of the victims would have only had around £20 in their pocket. I mean, what can you get for £20 these days? You can't even tank up your car, right? Here in America, 2 burgers and fries from Five Guys, halas, there you go. When Irina was caught, she told the police she did it for the money, she was a poor mom, she was craving alcohol, and her husband Yuri wouldn't give her money for vodka. During the court case, a psychiatrist analyzed her and said she's sane. Only one of the victims, a pensioner, managed to escape, and it was her testimony that gave the police the biggest clue that this granny killer was a female. The police believed that only a man could be so cruel to slaughter these victims at the very beginning when they first were trying to figure out who it is. Even at the beginning stages of this investigation, the police was so hardened on this being a man that they thought it was a man dressed as a woman. In fact, during the investigation, the police arrested the wrong woman, 29-year-old Irina Valeva, but she was later freed. After questioning more than 3,000 people, they found the real killer in 2010. For her final victim, instead of posing as a serial worker, Irina posed as someone who could redecorate their house. She bludgeoned the prisoner to death, and the neighbors gave police the description of this so-called decorator. Irina, to most people that knew her, was just a normal mother. She would help out at the school that her child was attending. One of her friends actually told the media she can't believe Irina is a mass murderer. She was kind and gentle and a caring mother. What I found funny in this non-funny story is her husband Yuri said that he lived with her for 14 years and he didn't suspect anything. Talk about being fucking oblivious. Like, bruv, there's a killer amongst you. You blind? But then there was outrage as she was only sentenced to 20 years in prison. Basically, it's a year for each murder. But the reason why is because the sentence should have been 25 years, but because she was a mother, she had some time cut off. Now, I think to myself, her being an alcoholic, she obviously has her own demons. Maybe she hates herself for having these demons because now she has to raise a child, and she obviously wasn't happy with her husband. Her husband certainly didn't seem to give a shit either, because when he said earlier that he lived with her for 14 years that I mentioned, he actually at that time was already living with someone else. And I just feel like with the case of Irina and her husband Yuri, they just didn't really have a purpose in life. And I think when we see scenes in a movie or when we hear new stories of drug addicts who break into shops and laboratories late in the night to steal, equipment or needles or whatever, I think this is the same equivalent with alcohol. Her desperation to escape in her mind became so, desperate that she literally was willing to kill to get what she wanted. I mean, I think to myself, with heroin, with cocaine and all these other drugs, they're a lot more expensive than alcohol. In England and in America, you can get a shot of vodka, what, $2, $3, $4, $5 max? So it also goes to show how poor she really was or how severe her addiction was. So now we go on to our second killer. Her name is Ole. Her second name is now coming up on the screen. I ain't fucking saying it, bro. I don't know how to say it. On March the 21st, 2009, she killed a female victim, then she ate her. This female victim, she got an axe, smacked her on her head, killed her, then she cooked her and ate her. This was all in front of her 7-year-old son. Olesia told the police that this all started where her and her friend were at her home. They were drinking, having fun, having a laugh, as you do. Then they get into a beef, they get into a quarrel, they get into a disagreement. So she thinks, you know what? Fuck it. She gets an axe, bang, kills her. Police said that the suspect hit the victim numerous times. The suspect picked up an axe, killed the victim, dismembered the body, then ate it. Oliesa in her confession went on to say, I cut off the ears, I then gouged out an eye, I cut off an arm, I cut off a hand. I took the arm and then the hand and decided to cook it. It was declared that she cooked it in the oven, because she's on a keto diet. She went on to say that with the help of a friend, she hid the remaining parts of the body in her own home in like, the cellar, the attic. Now, what's even more fucked up is during that day, her and this friend that removed the body, they decided, oh, we're hungry now. So what did they do? They go back upstairs to the body, they cut a piece off, then they fry it, and then they eat it. This time the police confirmed that their second meal was the buttock, the breast, and a cheek. Again, reiterate, all while this 7-year-old kid was there witnessing the whole thing. Now, this other friend told police that she felt compelled to ask Oliesa for more meat because Oliesa said, if you go and tell anyone, I'm going to do the same to you. A day later, Oliesa decided, all right, my appetite is done. She then puts the body, wraps it up, puts it in a bag, and then buries it in her garden. Unfortunately for her, locals called the police saying that they can see legs in one of the trash cans. The police came straight away. They found the legs. They looked around the vicinity, couldn't find anything else. So they go into the home and they see blood, marks, hair fibers, everything all over the floor. Due to this, she was arrested and her son was taken into a rehabilitation program. The friend, her name was Julia, the one that helped remove the body, she was used as a witness and not a suspect. Now, in all the research I did regarding Oliesa, I couldn't find what her sentence was, but she was being charged for cannibalism and for murder, and I think in Russia that crime was around 15 years. Now, with the first killing with Irina, for example, I tried to rationalize it. She was a drug addict, no different than any other drug addict, and she did what she had to do to get her drug. That's not justification, but we've seen it many times before. We've seen it with many other killers where drug addiction is one of the biggest reasons for, their act of depravity. But in the case of Oliesa, what the fuck? I don't care what drugs you're taking. You're going to eat a person? Who the fuck does that? Then at the same time, you're going to scare your other friend into doing it. Now, I know it's a heinous crime, but I think to myself, what could the quarrel have been over? Like, if I get into an argument with my friend, sometimes I may want to kill them. Metaphorically speaking, of course. You've been there yourself. But to eat the motherfucker? You guys know I love to give my opinion and I try to rationalize the mind of a killer. That is beyond my limitations. So why don't you guys comment? Tell me what you think.